I see it says live.
Oops. Dang it. I lost my, we're live, but I've lost the
Control of it?
Facebook thing, so I can't figure out how to get it back up there.
Maybe I have to do it, but I'm not quite sure.
Oops. Well,
We'll just go with it?
yeah, we'll just go with it. So,
All right.
sorry if you put a question in there. I'll keep trying to try and get it. But I'm Annette Friesman. I am with COVID Recovery Iowa. And COVID Recovery Iowa offers free outreach counseling to all Iowans that were impacted by the derecho and the pandemic. And obviously, we're all impacted by the pandemic. You can submit a request for assistance at covidrecoveryiowa.org, or you can call 800-447-1985. And you'll get, I may be one of the counselors that you get hooked up with. I am joined by Mary at Iowa State Extension. So why don't you tell us a little bit about you, Mary?
Sure. I am Mary Winan. I'm Family Finance Specialist with Iowa State University Extension and Outreach. I cover 12 counties in Southeast Iowa, but we have coworkers, or I have coworkers throughout the state, and we do cover the whole state. Should I just go ahead and start?
Yeah. So what are some of the main ways that the pandemic has impacted? Or do you want to just go through your thing, or do you want me to ask?
I might just go through the slides. It might answer a lot of the questions that we thought would be pertinent or relevant to some of the parents that are facing stress. You have a question?
I got the Facebook back up so I can monitor that, and I can.
Wonderful. Thanks.
So, yep,
so I thought it would be, so today we're going to talk a little bit about credit and credit repair. And I thought I would share this slide to show that how it might be relevant to parenting in the pandemic. And that we do know that people have lost job, have lost income, and that causes financial stress, but that also causes stress on relationships and parenting distress. And then that can result in disrupted parenting. And then, of course, some child adjustment problems. And this is studied. This is part of a study that the source here is Mazurek and Conger, 2017, Stress and Child Development, a review of the family stress model. So there's research that links financial stress with parenting stress. And just wanted to show how that is relevant to this group and to this topic. So I was asked to actually share some resources that might help. And one of the resources that we use often is Money Smart. So Money Smart for adults. This is through the FDIC. This is a free resource. You can use it whether you want to use it as a curriculum or handouts or lesson plans, or if you're an individual, there are lots of participant handbook. There's also Money Smart for youth that you can talk or start conversations with any teenagers, or if you wanted to do a lesson plan, if you're an educator. One of the other resources that I use a lot is Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. And they have been created to help us to manage, those financial resources. They're here to provide those resources, to empower us, but also know that it's research-based, evidence-based material that we can trust. And there are lots of resources available. We do have links to these. We can put those in the chat. This is just one booklet that you can order. It's like a 15-page booklet. It's very nice material. It's spiral bound. And this asks, want credit to work for you? Start with these steps. I really, really like these booklets because they're very user-friendly. It's easy to write in. It's a great tool to use. And you can actually, if you don't have access to the booklet, you can actually link and download the information, just print out 1 or 2 pages. So here's an example of one of the pages. This is, let's say I'm just trying to get started as far as what my credit would look like, because lots of people have a whole range, whether they've used credit or not. And in this particular example, it shows I've never used credit. That's a big difference if we're trying to explain how to build somebody's credit or financial resume. That's different than trying to repair somebody's credit or financial resume. And these are some ways to think about where you are on that continuum. And then again, what do you think about you might want to use some of this credit for? Is it holding you back in getting an apartment? Because when we look at credit reports and credit scores, it can be used for all kinds of things as far as apartments, vehicles, cell phones, education. It Lenders will look at your credit score and use that information as far as your ability to borrow. And this is a way to look at that. And then how could I improve, my credit or achieving that goal? And here's one of the other pages along, or I guess one of the suggestions I might have is that when you look to improving your credit, or if you're starting and you don't even know what you owe, or you're trying to start this conversation, all of us are entitled to one free credit report every 12 months from the reporting agencies, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. But due to COVID-19, so due to the pandemic, we now have access to a free weekly credit report online, and that's through April of 2021. And you can do that through annualcreditreport.com. I know there's lots of different ways to access a credit report or for-profit organizations, but this is the one that you would go to, and it does have federal oversight. So this is the access point that I would encourage you to use, www.annualcreditreport.com. Or you could complete a credit report request form, and that's an example of what it would look like. And it's a great place to start to look and see, what information do you have if you're not familiar with your credit or you're not familiar with any of your debt that's outstanding. So any questions so far?
Nothing on Facebook.
Okay.
I have
Go
a
ahead.
question, though.
Yes.
You would mention that some of these booklets you can start at a very young age. At what point would you recommend that someone really start thinking about their credit rating, and when should they start building that credit rating?
That's a great question. I'll go back actually just to refer to Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Annette and I were chatting as we were waiting for people to come on. When would we start the conversation? And Consumer Financial Protection Bureau actually has some resources. One is called Money as You Grow, a book club. And it uses books that we're familiar with, Berenstein Bears, and how to have a conversation about money. And that doesn't mean just, dimes and nickels and dollar bills, but, what does it mean to save, and why do we save, and what do we use money for, and goal setting, and all those different values that we bring into money. So it's a great way to start a conversation. There's activities that go along with that. And I'll try to find that link, when we go along. But Consumer Financial Protection Bureau is a great way to start those conversations, and it has lots of age-appropriate material. I guess as we're looking to have the conversation, I don't think it's any different than any conversation that we want to start as early as possible, because it is so integral to many of the values that we have as parents. So those resources are available for us to have those discussions. So great question.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. And then here's some more information from Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. This is just one more page in that booklet to help you plan and create an action plan to actually build your credit. Review your credit report, make sure the information on that report is accurate, dispute any errors on that credit report, and then credit building options. And some of those might be, if you don't have a credit, and many people don't have credit, consider working with a lending institution. And that would be whether that's a bank or a credit union. How would you develop that? It might be you need to start with a savings account, put some money in, and doesn't have to be a lot, $5 to $10 a month. And for some families, that's a struggle, and I do understand that. But developing that relationship then can help you get a checking account and maybe a debit card. And after that, you have money in a savings account, you might be able to get something called a secured credit card, And that basically, the lending institution is going to look at the money at your savings account and say, sure, we'll give you a credit card. If you had $200 in your savings account, your credit card would have a $200 balance, and that would go to help build your financial resume. You could use that credit card. I would encourage you to use it at very small amounts, pay it off monthly. What that does is it builds a track record, it builds a financial resume for you. Any questions about that?
Not so far. No.
Okay. And then, so those are some tools that lending institutions, usually credit unions, are going to have available for someone to help build their credit. That might be helpful for somebody going off to college, that they could start that, or somebody, a young adult who is just getting out of college or starting out after high school. That might be a way for them to build their credit. And something else might be, you might ask someone, a parent or a guardian, to be a co-signer to build your credit. But I would be very careful about being a co-signer, in that you want to make sure that the person that you're signing for is reliable, because it has an impact on your ability to borrow. So if I were to co-sign for someone, and then if I wanted to buy a vehicle 6 months from now, that lender may look at that cosign and say, you know what, you just don't have enough. You already have indebted yourself with that, and you no longer have the ability to borrow. So be careful about co-signing, but it is an option for people that you trust, and it is an option to build some credit for somebody who's younger. And I do want people to be very aware of scams. Only look to reputable organizations. There's a lot of organizations that do prey on people, predatory debt and predatory lending. And so some of the resources to look for will be available in this booklet. There's a whole list of resources that are nationally approved, and local resources. Make sure that you work with your local agencies that you trust, so that you aren't part of a scam. And then do look for, find ways for help. Local organizations, Consumer Credit Counseling is an organization that could help you if you just feel overwhelmed by some of your debt or your credit obligations. And that's a place to start a conversation as well. And then this booklet shows establish good habits for managing and paying bills and credit cards. And I would say that a big part of our score is paying our bills on time and managing the amount of debt. And I show that I only have 1 minute left. So I'm going to skip through and show you just one more resource that we have. This is Thriva State University Extension and Outreach. This is my contact information, but we cover the entire state, and we're available for one-on-one financial conversations. That's the 800 number right there. You can call us, you can send us an email. The information is free, it's confidential. We don't have funds, but we do have information and ways to reach out with other contacts. And here is a list of the resources. So any questions?
Someone said, so credit cards are not always a bad thing?
Actually, I encourage people to have credit cards, because I would much rather you have a credit card at 20% interest than to go out and use a predatory loan or a payday loan that could be up to 400% interest. I think it often is a way to build your financial resume. You don't have to use a credit card, but it is a good resource for an emergency.
And like you said, pay it off every month. You're going to build your
Paying it
credit.
off every month.
Yeah.
If you pay it off every month, you pay no interest.
Right. Right. Okay, that's the only questions they have there. Anything else you want to add as far as what parents can do to help their children, or what they can do to help themselves with their credit?
I would just like to highlight that these are the resources that we have. The one other resource that I did highlight is PowerPay. And if you want to learn and type in which loans or debt you have outstanding, it'll show you how you might save if you pay off the interest first, or how you might snowball method, paying off your smallest debt first. So that's another resource or tool if you like to look at simulations. That's a way to look through the information.
Okay.
As far as recommendations, I guess I would recommend looking through Consumer Financial Protection Bureau or giving us a call. We're happy to have a conversation with you.
Can you give us that 800 number real quick?
Absolutely. The 800 number is 1-800-447-1985.
Okay, so that'll get you to the Iowa State Extension and help with that. And you also mentioned, I wanted to mention some of the local credit unions also have some programs that can possibly help people too if you want to do something local or
Sure. Having
yeah.
a relationship with a local lending institution is going to have a big impact on your ability to borrow, your financial health. If you're paying off your bills timely and you run into a snag, and having a person that you can call is going to be a big benefit for you. Just actually, your mental health, being able to know that you have a local lender, that you have a relationship that you trust, and that they will have a discussion with you is probably going to be very, very helpful for relieving some of that stress.
Awesome. So again, to get a hold of Iowa State Extension, it's 800-447-1985. And if you want to reach out to COVID Recovery Iowa, it's covidrecoveryiowa.org or 800-447-1985. Thanks, Mary.
Thank you, Annette. Thank you, everyone who joined us today.
And we will put those all the links in the comments when we're done here.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.